Never be denied business funding again. On this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to know to never be denied for business funding again. And if you were denied for business funding, I'm going to show you how to reverse it for an approval and how I was denied for business funding, even with a 788 credit score. Let's just get straight to it. We don't even need an intro today. Let's get to it. Now, this is how you avoid being denied for business funding. There's two main things that you need to know first. Number one, there's always a reason that you were denied. Do not believe that it's just happenstance. It's just the banks are evil. It's just they don't like you, or even deeper, something else. I don't want to go there, but some of y'all might know what I'm saying here. It ain't none of that. Okay. There's a reason for it, and it's got something to do with you more than likely. Okay. And I'm not saying, at least that's 99% of the time. I'm not saying that you can't be discriminated against or something like that. But for the most part, it is a reason. Okay. There's always a reason that a bank denies you. Okay. It's just a matter of knowing why that specific bank denied you. And each bank is different. So it's important to know for each bank that you're looking to apply for business funding for, every bank is different. Okay. And you have to know exactly what that bank is expecting out of you before you apply. For example, American Express is different from Chase, which is different from Bank of America, et cetera, et cetera. So if you do not know these things before you apply, that could put you at risk for being denied for business funding. Okay. I know a lot of y'all tired of being denied left and right. I see it all the time. Y'all tell me this. So just keep listening so you can see exactly what you need to do differently. Okay. Number two, banks do not often tell you the real reason why you were denied. And let me add to this, number three, before I even finish number two, the banks are not going to tell you on their website the exact things that they're looking for so that you will be approved. Okay. So keep that in mind. Now let's go back to number two, though. Banks do not tell you the real reason why you were denied, even though according to the ECOA, which is of course, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, they must legally disclose the reason why you were denied within 30 days. Okay. That's why every time you get denied, they do always send that denial letter. They have to do that legally, according to this act. But they still do not give you the precise reason oftentimes, especially when it comes to commercial credit. Like personal credit is a little bit more accurate, I would say. They kind of tell you a little bit more of the reason why. But I'm telling you, when it comes to commercial credit, aka business funding, a lot of times they don't tell you exactly why they denied you. Okay. And sometimes you could put too much stock into the reasons listed, especially depending on the bank. So they always have to list something. But again, it doesn't mean it's going to be the actual reason that you got denied. So you can look at something and say, oh, man, they said it's my utilization. But dang, I was at 11% utilization, so I guess I have to be lower. It really could be something else. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on, because you must have a great BS detector. Okay. If you do not, then you will not know exactly what you're looking at. And I'm going to show you specific reasons with myself. Like I said, I was denied for business funding, even with a 788 credit score. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later on. At least it was 788 at the time. I'm like, shoot, almost 830 right now. And I could be even higher. But anyways. Yeah, I want to say reason three. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. I don't even have it here on the screen, but I'm just thinking of this as I'm recording here. Reason three, or the third main thing you need to know, if it's American Express, they don't have anything on the website saying, all right, this is exactly what you need to be approved. Now, a lot of times the banks will give you a general idea. This is the credit score we're looking for. They have that on several pages. Like Chase, I remember, like on the business line of credit, I remember seeing like some of the different things they're looking for. 2 years in business, this credit score. Sometimes they'll give you those things. For the most part, though, they're not going to give you everything. It's only going to be like 10% of what they're actually looking for. So you have to know these things beforehand, before applying. If you never want to be denied for business funding again, you have to know the information. It's just how it works. Now, let's get down to some more specifics here. How to avoid being denied for business funding forever. Number one, are you qualified? The qualifications. Do you meet the personal credit qualifications, which is going to be a 700 plus credit score? Normally, when you're going for business funding. Now, there are exceptions. I'm mainly talking about 0% business credit cards, business lines of credit. There are plenty of no non-personal guaranteed business funding that you can get access to without a personal credit score. But for the most part, especially for you guys that are newer in business, if you're less than 2 years in business and less than $1 million in revenue, then keep listening, because this is going to be for you for the most part. When it comes to no personal guaranteed, if you want those big numbers, you're not going to get that without actually having a high personal credit score, or at least 720 plus. All right. And yeah, I have here 700 plus. You can get away, sometimes even less than that, but ideally you want to be 700 plus, and even above 720 is better. Okay, keep listening, because you're going to get all the information. All right. Now, credit utilization, you want to be at 15% or less. Really, ideally is 3 to 9%. That's where I would say you would really want to be at. Primary credit history, meaning your accounts that you own, not authorized users, 1 to 3 years minimum. Really, 5+ years is ideal. Your highest credit limit out of your credit cards, you want to be at least 10K. All right, now it can be less. We've got it funded with less, absolutely, 100%. Especially now, the absolute lowest, I would not go any lower than 5K. You can go, like a 7,500 or something, but 10K is ideal. 20K plus is even better. The higher limits that you have on the personal side is going to be the higher limits you're going to get on the business side. Makes sense? No negatives is ideal. You do not want any charge-offs, collections, late payments, things like that. But if you do have them on there, they need to be beyond 2 years. If you have anything within 2 years, try to take care of it first. If not, you could be the problem. All right. If you do not meet these standards, this could be the problem. You're applying for business funding. You keep getting denials left and right, or really low limits. This could be the issue right here. Do not waste time applying for business funding if you do not meet these standards. It never ceases to amaze me how many applicants or how many people I see that would tell me that they didn't have like a lot of this going on and they just still applied. But they kind of knew that this was, kind of what the banks were looking for in a certain extent. I say no because they had knowledge of it, but they didn't apply it because they still applied for business funding, even though their credit score was like a 670 or their credit utilization is like 40%. I see that all the time. Don't do it. Take care of it first. You're going to avoid wasting time and increase, because most banks are going to make you wait 3 to 6 months before you apply again. So it's best to not even go that route if you don't meet the requirements. Now, what are the business profile requirements? Business credit score. Most banks do not require require a business credit score prior to business funding. Okay. Now there are exceptions like Synovus. You must have a 492 blended Equifax credit score between your personal and business. I'm just throwing an example. Don't worry about that. You may not even know who Synovus is, that bank, and it might not be in your region. I'm just giving you an example from knowledge that I have. Business credit utilization. Now, it depends on if that particular business credit card even reports to the credit bureaus, because a lot of times business credit cards don't even report to business credit bureaus. Some do and some don't. But if, just as a standard to kind of have for yourself, I would say ideally 30 to 50%. See, on the business side, your business credit utilization, meaning your business credit cards, the utilization that you have with those, they normally can be higher than your personal credit cards. Remember, I said ideal for personal credit was 3 to 9%, 15% highest, really. But here, ideally, it could be, 30 to 50%. On the business side, they're a lot more lenient on that. And especially if you're not going within that same bank, you're good a lot of times. You may even be maxed out. You still can get approved for other banks, where on the personal side, you can't do that. That's why having business credit cards, especially the 0% business credit cards, is so much more ideal than dealing with personal credit cards. And none of this affects your personal credit score either. Just to give you an example, if you have a American Express Business Blue card, you're applying for a second Business Blue cash card. That's two of the American Express's business credit cards. Okay, the American Express Blue card and the American Express cash card. Say you already have the blue card, you want to make sure that blue card is down to 15% or lower before you apply for the second, which is the cash. But if you are applying for Chase and you're at 30% on the one American Express card you have, you should still be fine with the other bank. All right. Normally, having a high prior credit limit doesn't really help. I mean, excuse me, not doesn't help. It does help, but it's normally not required. So, meaning you don't have to have like a 10K plus business credit card before you apply for funding, right? I mean, how could you get that if you don't apply already and have that? So no late payments on any business credit cards or any vendor credit. That is very important. That's one of the most important things on the business side. Like business credit, you can build business credit just fine just by having business credit cards that report and that you, of course, paying on time. You don't really need too much more normally. All right. But business credit is just don't mess it up. Like, don't have any late payments or anything like that, and you should be fine. It's not as tricky to build as personal credit is. Personal credit has all these different variables and factors going on, where business credit is not as complex. So no prior business credit history is normally required, but it definitely helps depending on the bank. I'm not going to say it hurts you or anything like that. It's just not normally required depending on the bank. Now, let's go into this. What are some sneaky ways that you could be denied for funding that you may not pay attention to? Number one, if you have an NSF within that bank, do not apply for funding within that same bank if you have an NSF, which of course, non-sufficient funds. So if you ever had a situation where you had $500 in your business checking account and you forgot to transfer money, you got two accounts, one of them had more money in it, but your account that this bill for $1,000 was coming in, you forgot to transfer money into the other account. It only has 500. The 1,000 hits, you negative 500, something like that. You want to be careful for applying for funding within that bank because they're going to take note of that, especially if you didn't have money in the second account. Say you only got an account, a business checking account with $500, something hits you for 1,000, and the bank sees that you don't have it anywhere, at least within that institution, it could be an issue. That could be NSF, especially if you don't catch it within like that day and it goes in. You know, a lot of times they'll give you a little grace and they'll give you a little notification or something via email and let you know that this has happened. But say you didn't have the money and, you know, it took you like 5 days to kind of pay things off. That's definitely NSF at that point. And you want to be careful for applying for funding within that institution. I would say within 90 days, but it could take even longer. And you might want to call in and try to explain what happened there. Okay. I've seen denials for this for sure. And I had a client that had this situation, and it wasn't because he didn't have the money. It was just really more about planning and coming out the wrong account at the wrong time, of course. But we got denied for funding because he didn't disclose that information to me because he didn't know it was relevant. But anyways, do not apply for business funding if the amount in your business checking account is less than a minimum requirement before fees. Always know when you open a business checking account, you always must know what is the minimum requirement to avoid fees in that business checking account. For example, for Chase, currently at the time I'm recording this, it's normally for the standard business checking account is $2,000. If you have a Chase business checking account with $500 in it, it's not recommended that you apply for the business credit card if you only have 500 because they require 2,000 minimum before you apply. This is something else that may seem obvious to some, but I see people do this all the time. Don't do it. always know whichever bank that you're applying with, if you have a business checking account with them, know how much cash that they require before they start hitting you with fees. There's a monthly minimum balance that you must have. Know that within each bank. Because if not, you could be denied for funding. And that's why you're here in the first place, so you can see exactly what you need to know to never be applied for, never be denied. I ain't in this out. To never be denied for business funding again. Now, let's say you qualified. You meet all this. Colin, I meet all that. I got the personal profile on deck, the credit score, business profile. I meet all that. I'm good. Now, what are some of the reasons why you could be denied? Because it doesn't end there. You can have the credit score. Everything could be fine on your business credit, profile, everything else, but there's still a lot of reasons you could be denied. The number one thing really would be relationship. You don't have a business checking account. Most banks will want to see a relationship, mainly at least a business checking account, prior to applying. Now, this does not apply to every single bank. So you need to know which banks require a relationship and which ones don't. I'm going to give you an example. Typically, American Express, they do not require a business checking account, or we really haven't seen that move the needle too much. Just from data points that we haven't seen that really move the needle as far as approvals or not opening a American Express business checking account, which I think they have a great business checking account, by the way, because even with their business checking account, you can collect interest on it. So I think it's great, but it's highly recommended that you have a personal credit card with them first before applying for business funding. But I'm just giving you an example. So this is some of the information that you need to know before you apply. Hey, does this bank typically want to see a relationship first? Most banks will. There are exceptions, but most banks will. And look, I've been denied for business funding for this very reason. So, like I said, I've said it twice now. I was denied for business funding with a 788 credit score just because I did not have a business checking account with that particular entity. And I'm showing you proof right here. It says credit score 788. This was March 13th that this happened in 2024. So I'm going to show you more here. Okay, yeah, it says, thank you for your recent business credit card application through Mid-South Bank. That was the bank, Mid-South Bank. Your request for a business credit card was carefully considered. However, we were unable to process or approve your request due to the following reasons. Look what it says here. Unable to verify information on application. Let me tell you this, by the way. Normally, I would not apply for any type of business funding without a business checking account if I don't have the information. This was merely for testing. So I wasn't even worried if I got approved for this business credit card or not. It's one of those things where I didn't, quote unquote, need it at the time, but this is for my clients. I put my own self as a guinea pig for banks that I may or may not have that most experience with. So that's the only reason why I was doing this, just to let you know. But either way, denied. Now, the reason says unable to verify information on the application. That's what it says, right? By the way, quick note, if you only get like one reason and it doesn't say like personal credit or anything like that, you may get several reasons. But the one that's at top, by the way, is normally the most important reason. If you get several, like this could have like 3 or 4 different things or just like 2 things. Normally they list it in the order of priority. Okay, so whatever is at top is the most important or the most prevalent reason that you got denied for funding. Okay, so the key reason why I was denied: unable to verify information on the application. Here's the translation: we don't accept applicants without a business checking account. Because I called, they said, yeah, we couldn't verify your information. Now, here's the thing. This was so funny about this. This is what the banks will do. And this is why you have to know the information beforehand. They will say something like they can't verify information, but they don't reach out to you to verify your information. All you guys had to do is shoot me an email, shoot me a call, whatever, and say, hey, I couldn't verify your business's EIN number. I couldn't verify your business existed or something. And I would have gladly sent something over, but instead they just denied me. So That is something that happens a lot. That's why you have to know the information beforehand. This is why I put myself as a guinea pig. So that way, if I send my clients to Mid South Bank, I already know that they need to have a business checking account first. And again, I called and they told me this information. They said, "Oh, we couldn't verify you. Do you have a business checking account with us?" "Oh, yeah, I can tell because we couldn't find your information. So therefore, we denied you. And we're going to send you the reason via mail, but we couldn't verify you." And what else did they say? They gave me an opportunity to send like text documents and things like that just for an approval, which I didn't really find necessary. I'm just going to apply again later because this is a 0% business credit card through Mid South Bank. They're underwritten by TCM Bank. I want to see, what I was going to be approved for, but I'll just go back. It was really for testing purposes. That's it. So you must be able to, you must be able to decipher these messages. Okay. This is the BS detector that I was referring to earlier. You have to have the BS detector because I'm telling you, they're going to give you things on the application that is not the reason why you got denied. Okay. So unable to verify information on application does not mean that you need to have a business checking account prior to applying with them. That's not what it says, but I know from experience, if you see this, it's probably because you don't have a relationship with them. Because if you do, they will be able to actually verify you. And you can have one and still get this, honestly. So that's why you have to know the data points for each bank beforehand. This is how you avoid denials forever. You have to have the information. You have to have the knowledge, okay? And you can always call the bank beforehand. And I'm saying bank so much, and I'm trying to give specific examples, but each bank is so different. We would have to have a video on each bank, in order to really break this thing all the way down. But for now, I'm giving you the things in general. And we'll make more videos about American Express, Chase, Bank of America, some regional banks, some credit unions, so on and so forth. All right. But you can always call the bank beforehand and gather information or go, gather information online before applying. That's how you avoid being denied. Now, if your credit score, or unless your credit score is a perfect 850, you will always receive credit score reasons for denial too, at least normally. And you must know which reason actually triggered the denial versus what they're telling you. All right. Like this is an example right here. It says credit score 788. Scores range from a low of 300 to a high of 850. Key factors that adversely affected your credit score. Oh, this bank card was opened too recently. You see, this is another one where normally the thing that's at top is the most determining factor for your credit score being whatever it is. But a lot of times that's not the case. It could be something else. Really, I would say at this time in March, it was my utilization was at like 10% or something. So that was like the main reason why my score wasn't higher, wasn't in the 800s like it normally is. But anyways, again, I was just off for testing purposes. But I don't think I had a bank card that was open too recently. That's why you have to really be able to decipher this because this messes up a lot of people. I had a client, like she was dang near going back and forth with me about this. Like because she got the reason they were saying one thing, but I knew it was something else why she had got denied. But anyway, that's a whole nother reason. But that's how you have to be with this. You really have to know the information beforehand. That's why it's good to work with someone if you don't feel like knowing all this information beforehand, because if not, you're putting yourself at risk for being denied straight up. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I've had clients go through, get 200K plus, 150, 100 without a single denial because I knew the information to get them straight to the places that wouldn't deny them. If they were doing it by themselves, it would have been a wrap. Like they would have been racking up denials, getting lower limits and stuff like that, just to let you know. Now, I said earlier that I would tell you how to reverse a denial. You can always call that bank's reconsideration line. You can find a number, you could normally just Google it, okay? But test the number, of course. Make sure it's a working number. It actually gets you to a reconsideration line. And some banks do not have them, by the way. So some banks do not do reconsiderations. Every bank, they don't have to do that. A lot of times they'll say you just have to apply again, but you at least want to try it. Okay. And if you don't do a reconsideration, a lot of times someone can at least provide you with some type of insight why you were denied. Just try to ask probing questions like, hey, so I was denied. Could you tell me why? They'll tell me in the mail. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But just from your perspective, from applications that you may have seen before, I'm not sure if you have experience in that, but could you tell me like different things like that you've seen before that would cause a denial like mine? And just try to talk to them and see if they can provide some insight to you. Just doing things like that, I would just probe. That's what I would do, or what I've done, and it's worked. Sometimes you can get some insider information. And one time, man, bank was just straight up like, hey, we've already met our quota like for this quarter, and we've kind of been denying people really just because of that. I would try again like next quarter. Stuff like that. Like knowing that information is very valuable, right? You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times you can squeeze out some information from either the person you're talking to, or if you get transferred to an underwriter, even better. Always find out the reason though, so you can correct it. If you don't know why you were denied for business funding, then you can't correct it. Also, this is the most important thing to know, really. When can you apply again? A lot of times they'll say, oh, you can apply again anytime. No. I want to know, when can I apply again and actually be approved? Is it a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day? Some banks, like Capital on Tap, I believe they make you wait for 6 months. You need to know when you can apply again and actually be approved. Because technically you can apply again whenever you want to any bank. But say, hey, when can I apply again and actually be approved? What's normally the waiting period before I can apply and actually get approved? Because I know I can apply right now at this very second, but when it's not too soon, when can I apply and actually be approved? That is very important information to know, because every bank is different with that. Another bank, American Express, normally theirs is only 30 days. You get denied with them, you can apply again in 30 days. But for like a Chase, for example, I'm just saying like banks that you guys all know. But anyways, Chase normally is going to be like 60, 90 days. It really depends. Okay. And it depends on the product too as well. But this is how you avoid being denied for business funding. It's really about having the knowledge beforehand to know exactly what that bank is looking for and what they're not. So if you see this and you don't want to deal with it, you like, you know what, Colin, you already know the data points on the banks. Just have me go through. I want to get 50, 75, 100, 150, 200K plus in business funding and not have to worry about denials. Well, and look, I can't promise that, but like I said, I've seen plenty of clients that go through and they get no denials because we're putting them in the right direction. There's going to be a resource in the description. Hit it. See if you can set up a call with us so we can go through, take a look, analyze your personal and business profile, set you up a custom funding strategy so you can get direct access to exactly which banks are going to give you the maximum amount of funding. All right. That's it for now. This is how you avoid being denied for business funding. And you guys let me know. Actually, comment below and let me know what you want to see next. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more funding videos that are coming in weekly, baby. We're not stopping. I have 100+ videos planned out, so it's time to go now. Let's get it, y'all. Peace. Talk to you in the next one.